Alright, so it's time to do something about this crayfish we scored from one of the locals this morning. He's about 1.5 kilos apparently. I'm not exactly sure how to do this. We don't have a pot big enough to boil him whole, which is what I would normally do. So what I'm going to try and do is cut the tail out of the carapace like that. Hopefully it'll just twist out, so we'll get the largest chunk of meat this way. And then I can think about what I'm going to do with the head. I haven't really made a decision yet. There we go, that worked well. So there's the tail. It's quite a lot of meat there. That's quite good. We'll cut him open, get the meat out, and I'll probably fry that. There's nothing left in there. I would like to boil this carapace here at least, so we can still crack the legs open and get a little bit out of him that way. So that looks like a pretty damn good chunk of meat. I think I'll take all the meat out, maybe fry it, and then make up what's the name of the sauce? Can't think of the name of it. Cheese, like a cheese sauce to go with it. Yeah, I think we'll do something like that. So I'm just going to cut open the tail section there. And then take out the meat from inside. I think this will work, I hope so. Yeah. I wouldn't want to destroy a beautiful crayfish, you know, like, it's a rare opportunity to have a beautiful crayfish. There we go. Look at that. Now that is a really nice piece of meat. Any crocodiles, my darling?
He's still there.
Still there. So we're pretty much surrounded by crocodiles today. We've seen 5 or 6 crocodiles. Getting up to a reasonable size one looks around about 3 meters. So as we're getting on dusk, Tarn's just getting a last chance to have a look at crocodiles. Well, here anyway. I guess we'll see a lot more on the way to Darwin. So we're just leaving Horn Island now. Going to head around to Friday Island, to the west of Thursday Island, and we're going to drop the pick there for a day or so, just wait for conditions to moderate a little bit, and then we'll head off across the Gulf, probably on Sunday, so today is Friday. You can see there's a couple of, there's a barge and a tug, and they load sand, and I've seen them come in with loads and loads of containers on board. So yeah, they get a lot of stuff shipped in and out of here. It's a pretty impressive little port, very busy. We're going to head down a narrow channel between some sandbars here, go around Thursday Island, and ducking behind Friday Island. Banks here is quite narrow. There's the starboard hand mark exiting the channel, and there's the port hand mark. You can see the sandbanks on the port side there. So yeah, quite narrow. It's the sandbanks, parts of them should be deep enough, but you know, I guess in a keel boat I just like to take the long way around if I'm in any doubt. So that's what we've done. Basically that's where we're passing there, between the two marks. Strangely, Thursday Island and Horn Island is actually a place I could see myself living for a little while. It's a place where it's kind of so small and so remote. It's kind of anonymous. I mean, I'm sure it's not once you live there, and it's quite expensive. But it'd be a good place to spend 6 or 12 months just working and hanging out. You know, if you needed a break from life. I'm sure there's 1,000 amazing stories from people here that worked in some of the remotest and most difficult regions on Earth. So we're getting about nearly 5 or 6 knots of tide behind us at the moment. I knew it would give us a helping hand, and I knew we needed to take the tide with us. But gee, I didn't expect it to be running quite that hard. So yeah, definitely you've got to use the tides to move around the islands here in a yacht. On a speedboat probably wouldn't bother you too much, but in a small yacht where you're only doing 5 knots, it's not really too much. It'd affect you in a big way. So you've got to time your tides as you move around the islands here, folks. Keep that in mind. You can see the tide racing actually like a river just off our port side. Check this out. We're at about 12 metres of water here, and the water is absolutely tearing between the islands. Imagine doing this in a sailing ship, like Captain Cook's days. Oh my God, that'd be terrifying. Dan's just getting the anchor ready. We're going to drop it here behind Friday Island in about 8 metres of water, and I can see Thursday Island straight through the narrow gap there. Oh, let's do it. I laid 48 metres of chain. I'm going to put a snubber on that, so I'll add another couple. That's 50 odd metres, and we're in about 8 metres of water. I expect that to rise a little bit by a couple of metres, and there is a bit of a tide running here, probably about a knot, maybe a knot and a half. So yeah, a little bit of tide. Anyway, I'll put that snubber on, and then we can settle in for a couple of nights here, relax, before we do the big jump across the puddle. There's my little snubber. Try and do this one-handed so you can watch. Basically just takes the load off the anchor winch so that it's not putting all the pressure on the anchor winch. Now all I'll do is just ease that chain out until the snubber grabs. There we go. All done. That's all there is to it. Bit of wind blowing here, so we're getting some bullets coming through, but between the bullets it's not too bad. Certainly a pretty anchorage. You can see behind me, I guess. That's all of Friday Island north side there. This is my favourite instrument on the boat. It's basically our battery monitor, and this is the setting I normally keep it on. It's showing that we've got 98% batteries, and we're currently pumping in 20 amps out of our solar panels, and when the sun's not cloudy we're pumping in about 25 plus. So I love watching that, and one of my solar panels is not working properly, so 20 to 25 amps is pretty impressive out of these solar panels. They're flexible Solbian, made in Italy. Again, we're not sponsored by them, but I was really happy with them. They're very expensive. Bought them from a place in Melbourne, RV Solar for RVs or something like that. Can't remember. Anyway, yeah, they were really good shipping them up here. I've had them for a couple of years now, but you know, watching them perform in this tropical sun is, yeah, really my favourite thing to watch. It's anything but a quiet anchorage at the moment. We're getting wind in that 25 to 30 knot range coming down over the top of Friday Island. That in itself is not really an issue, but through the channel here the tide absolutely rips. So at the moment we're sitting in a wind against tide situation. We've got the wind coming from our port side, or coming from the southeast, and we've got the tide coming in the opposite direction. So the boat's trying to lay in a balance between the two. Tide is king, so generally that is winning. So it's trying to turn the stern of the boat towards the wind. The wind is trying to push the boat back the other way, and the end result is that we're sitting beam on pretty much to the wind, which means that rather than laying with the least amount of wind resistance possible, so the bow is into the wind, we're laying side on and presenting the maximum amount of resistance. So that of course puts the maximum amount of stress on the chain. We anchored in about 8 metres of water, and I've put out 50 metres of chain, so it's more than enough, but it's something that we definitely want to keep an eye on because it's very strong here. Once the tide turns or relaxes, the wind will start to win this fight and we'll start laying into the wind again. But then again, sometime during the night, exactly the same thing is going to happen again. So it's not exactly a lovely anchorage. This is an anchorage that I would suggest is probably better in 15 to 20 knots rather than 25 to 30 knots. But we'll be okay here tonight. It won't be the end for us. And we're in the perfect position to jump off across the Gulf in 2 days' time when that wind moderates.
Coral 9, Rescue 700.
Rescue 700, this is Coral 9.
Rescue 700, further to my last, can you ensure that all radars are off before aircraft enters over the deck?
Roger, radars are off.
Rescue 700, roger, our radars off too. And see you in approximately 10 minutes.
Roger, 10 minutes.
So you don't hear this every day. We're just listening to the VHF because I've always got that on, just so that other people can see our AIS. And there's a helicopter heading out to a ship that we can actually see the ship and the helicopter from here. And they're going to lower a couple of people down onto the deck. It's a rescue helicopter, so I assume they're medical personnel for somebody. And the pilot was just talking about how he was going to approach the ship from astern and make a pass and then come back in again and lower a line down, and then from that he was going to lower some people down and then recover the line and then continue hovering. And yeah, considering how windy it is here right now, it's 25 to 30 knot winds. That's a pretty impressive feat that the pilot is going to do, and imagine the challenge for the two people that are being lowered down onto the deck of this ship, obviously to take care of someone. So that's really quite remarkable, and it's playing out in our sight here, probably only a couple of miles away. We can see the helicopter and we can see the ship. So yeah, it's good to know that these guys are around. That's a Rescue 700, so I assume they're coming out of Thursday Island, and quite brave, all of them. So yeah, so Rescue 700, if you see this, good job, well done. Oh, and the ship's captain too, clearly. It takes teamwork to be able to pull something like that off safely, so yeah, there you go. But it's good to know these guys are around, Yeah, it's very reassuring. And to all the volunteers who do that stuff, VMRs all up and down the coast of Queensland, volunteer marine rescues, Coast Guard as well, they're volunteer as well. Some of these boats put to sea in the worst possible conditions, at risk to themselves. Not to mention that hours and hours and hours of volunteer work that they do just to keep those clubs operating, or those units operating, so that they're available for people like us if we ever need it. My father volunteers with his VMR down in New South Wales as a radio operator who's done it for decades. I don't know how much time he puts into it, and it's a thankless task, so thank you.
Did one of your boys just lose his wallet into the water?
Rescue 700, stand by.
Oh no. So it turns out it was a training exercise, not a live exercise. And it sounds like one of the guys may have lost their wallet going from the helicopter.
We saw something fall from one of the guys, we understand.
Oh.
Rescue 700, stand by.
Well, it's good news that it's only an exercise. Still, that's a.
Rescue 700, no, if it did fall, I think it's at the bottom of the ocean by now.
Yes, it was. We didn't see what it was, but it looked like something fell from that tandem.
So Rescue 700, roger, thanks. No dramas, we really appreciate it. Packets of photos, I'll be in touch once we get back.
Yeah, many thanks, guys. It helps us get our training done too. Thank you for your time.
Rescue 700, anytime. Talk to you soon. Yeah.
Well, that was very cool. So only a practice, only an exercise, but still there's a fair bit of risk in doing something like that. As soon as you're going to winch someone down from a helicopter onto the back of the deck of a ship in 25 to 30 knots of wind. And one of the poor buggers may have lost his wallet. There you go. Thank you still, VMR, rescue helicopters, all your rescue services. Thank you. She made some fried rice. Thank you. She made some fried rice, so we bagged that yesterday, chucked in the freezer, so that'll freeze up for us. And we'll have fried rice, sausages and rice, chicken and rice for the next couple of days. That way we don't have to cook on board, because obviously your tummy is always a bit unsettled the first couple of days. Thanks, baby. Alright, so we're heading into the beach at Friday Island to go and have a bit of a look. Leave Starlight alone for a little bit.
Woo!
Big birds.
Ah!
And our new friends on Lady D, who are doing the crossing across the Gulf with us today or tomorrow. So yeah, be interesting to have some company. So Australian Border Force turned up in their little vessel there and did checks by radio with us. Luckily you had our handheld with us. So just raised us, asked us who was on board, nationalities and so on. So we've provided all those details, and you know, they're very pleasant guys. So I guess if you're not doing the wrong thing, it's not going to create any problems for you, is it? So there they are in the background in a small vessel. We did hear them this morning checking more yachts around Horn Island. So I assume that they do that on a regular basis through here, just checking on who's around. So, you know, you can't really sneak through here. At some point, someone's going to notice you. So there you go. Join us in the next episode as we step off and cross the Gulf of Carpentaria all the way to Cape Vessel.